And now for something completely different.
So finally, our 5 exams in 4 days are over, and we have convened the Council of Soy to record this momentous saucy poddy, the Edible Review Sausage Edition. Welcome all. Welcome to my guests this evening, including Cedric.
Hello.
Connor.
Hi.
James.
Good evening, everyone.
And your hosts, me, Cedric. So, don't mind the sizzling in the background. So, we have a whole variety of saucies here from all across the globe. We have various dried French saucies, which adequately describes the population of France. We have some Polish garlic sausage. We even have some British Bramley apple saucies and some Spanish chorizo, as well as some Lithuanian cheese sausage. So, without further ado, let us start this saucy poddy with the classic garlic sausage. Dig in, everyone.
Oh, right.
Right.
Oh.
Initial reflections, boys.
It's okay. I don't think I could have it in a large quantity though. Small bits of it I could have and I could enjoy the taste of. But I couldn't take too much of it, so to speak.
What about you, James? What do you think of this garlic saucy, which I'm going to have another piece of?
I gotta say, I do like the garlic. It does add a little bit of complexity to flavor, and I also like the texture of it. It's quite soft, really. It's like springy.
And Saint Nick?
Yeah, that's a good hearty sausage. Yeah, I liked it.
I've always been a fan of the garlic saucy since my days in Paris. And I must say, this is a very fine edition of the garlic saucy. What I didn't like was that the package was filled with some strange garlic saucy liquid, which exploded all over my face when I opened it.
Oh dear.
With some violence. And usually I'm not opposed to such liquid saucy explosions, but on this occasion it was quite off-putting. So Saint Nick,
Speaking about
tell me,
off-putting.
tell me, Saint Nick, what does this garlic saucy tell you about the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire?
Bits of Poland were part of the very southern bit of Poland was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Not for long.
Well, that's it. I've got a great anecdote about the fall of it. It says a lot about the Austrians and the Germans. So it was during the end of the First World War when things were going bad for the German-Austrian side of things.
May I make a suggestion that the current setup of the garlic sausages could be a excellent illustration of Franz Ferdinand's brains splattered all over his car.
I've got it.
Nick's got it!
Here's the... it's not going to be worth it after all that build-up, but... so during the end of the First World War, when the situation was difficult, they said in Berlin, the situation is difficult... How was it? God.
There's a hell of a build-up for a punchline you've forgotten. That's okay.
I'm just going to have to type this. Google, Mother Google will help us.
I'm going to apologise to Nick's mother and all of those listening on behalf of his shameless memory gap. I will recommend he has an MRI scan for memory problems and such like. So let's move on now to the... We have 2 different varieties.
Ah, here we are.
Good Lord.
In Berlin, they said, during the end of the First World War, the situation was serious, but not desperate. In Vienna, the situation was desperate, but not serious. The joke being in Vienna, it's going to pieces, but they're still having a good time.
This sausage is fallen to pieces, as Nick's anecdote has fallen to pieces. But we are still having a good time.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, let's drink to that. Cheers. Cheers.
to
Cheers.
everyone having
I liked it.
Cheers. Good. Right. So let's move on to the typical demonstrative sausage of Europe, the dry French saucy, which in it contains all of the best parts of France. It's dry, it's flavoursome, and you'll grow to hate it. So, let's try the smaller saucy first before we go on to the salami.
Right. I guess the etiquette is to use your hands.
For this one, yes.
Now what? Right.
I feel instantly more French.
How could you get more French?
It's quite a nuanced flavour.
Ah,
It is. Much like the French.
am I tasting a bit of sweetness, or am I just going crazy?
And that's just me, darling. What do you think, Connie Wani?
I think there's a hint of sort of the sausage being smoked there, which is quite nice. It's this flavour underneath which I can't quite describe, which really sells it though. I'm still trying to figure out the flavour, but it's very nice going down.
Let's, if Nick was done prodding the sausage with his hard prong. So this is, it's pure pork, it's 100%, and let's read the ingredients. So, les viandes fraîches, blah blah blah, gourmand. So it's pork, salt, lactose, there's some spices, there's some sodium, fermentation, comestible collagen, that's interesting. Maybe I won't eat any more of those. And apparently there's I love this because you know with dried meats, there's more meat in it than the dried weight.
Yes.
So I love it when I read dried meat products ingredients because it says here that there's 190 grams of pork for every 100 grams of finished product. So there you are. There's twice as much pork in there as you think. That was delicious. And let's move on to the other. So this is a salami I got from Waitrose yesterday. It's quite delicious. I got it from the deli. This one might engender a fork. Let's move on to that one.
So I'm moving to the UK then.
Well, it's still French salami sec,
I see.
which is dried salami.
That's...
Oh boy.
So what is the difference between salami and a sausage?
Moistness.
Really?
Because salami is dried, typically.
So a sausage is more moist?
The sausage is just meat in an intestine, whereas this salami is dried, cured meat in a dry skin which you peel and remove and you eat it cold, as opposed to having to cook it through like some of the sausages we'll be trying later. That's my initial.
What's your appetite there?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but after eating that French saucy, I feel instantly more detestable. So, let's ask Connor, who I know has some strong views on this topic. What does this combination of dried French crusty sausage tell you about the ethno-nationalist conflict in Northern Ireland in the late 20th century?
Ultimately, there's two sides to the salami, like there are two sides to the conflict that do ultimately have a point but can't seem to compromise to meet in the middle.
So,
Is it a Protestant sausage or a Catholic sausage?
Indeed. Is it a Protestant atheist sausage or a Catholic atheist sausage? Are you going to have another one?
I think I might.
You should watch the Harry Enfield sketch about he's at a party and he's annoyed about the pineapples on a stick and he gets really angry and he goes, "You foul hag, go to hell." I can't do a Northern Irish accent, but you get the idea.
You foul hag.
I totally and utterly reject your expressions of sorrow. Let nobody be in any doubt these are crocodile tears ye are crying. For hundreds of years, my community has enjoyed cheddar cheese and pineapple on its dick. And today, ye have been seen to trample our demands contemptuously unto the mud. Ye vile hag, you shall be judged guilty.
You know what we should watch is the Beavis and Butthead movie. Yeah. I am Cornholio. I need teepee for my bunghole.
I am Cornholio. I need teepee for my bunghole.
I've never seen them in Celebrity Deathmatch. They're quite something for the short duration that they're alive.
That's a good tagline.
Yeah.
For any so, let's move on now to Connor's spicy foreign sausage. The chorizo he has brought us from Marks and Spencer's.
Chorizo?
Now, Susan, don't be sly. Did you make this yourself?
Well, let's just say I made it to the shops in time to buy it.
I knew it! Marks and Spencer!
M&S. Who else?
M&S.
M&S. M&S.
Saint-Michel.
Oh, they are simply amazing.
Oh, yeah. Have you tried their new boxer shorts?
I haven't.
I have. Delicious.
Everybody dig into Connor's spicy chorizo. Off you pop.
Oh, dear.
You can have the 2 pieces.
I'll
darling.
take
How
this.
kind.
You get 2 as well. Everyone gets 2 sausages.
Thanks, Oprah.
Very good. Glad someone got the reference. So, great. Oh, man.
Oh. The spices on this.
It's real.
Yeah. No, this is powerful.
You okay?
Nick has finally gone speechless. We've all been waiting. A sausage has brought him to his verbal knees.
Nah, I could put this in pasta and it would be absolutely divine.
For someone who's brought up on an African diet, which usually consists of
Spices like this, yes.
yes,
No,
that
no.
is saying something that I can taste it.
Yeah, no.
That is an excellent.
I
addition.
100%.
Are the spices of the Spanish thing from a North African connection? I wonder. I don't know.
Well, of course, the Spanish fleet in the 1400s passed through Africa.
And a lot of Spain was reconquered from.
Okay, no, I definitely have to get
Those
these
are
again. These are super nice.
M&S.
Yeah, but the problem is, M&S tends to be quite expensive, especially for me as a student. So this would definitely be like a treat, and a treat it is. I would say.
I'm gonna try with the sake.
Ah, the sake.
Are you going to try the sake? Well, we'll take a pause from saucies and move to sake.
A new frontier in my alcoholism.
Yes.
Would you like a shot glass? I'll go and get you one in the shape of a thistle.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's.
That was actually that's amazing.
No, that was very good comment.
Genuinely, I'm super impressed how the taste
Who
of
wants,
this is.
who wants sake? Do you want sake?
Sure.
We'll give you this glass. We'll give you the thistle glass, which is delish. And I'll take this glass, which is my favourite. Listen to this for Crystal. Listen to this.
Thank you.
Well, I poured for myself.
No, please.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
I'll gate. So
But he not Japanese of me, was it?
That
No,
would
no,
hardly-
that's-
Try to say that was not Japanese of you in like
that was hardly a sakosha.
It's like kosher. Whoa, that's quite a decent bit.
Pinky.
All right, gentlemen. The way you say cheers in Japanese is gunpai. So you go gunpai, 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 gunpai.
Hi.
Gunpai.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's
Wait,
delicious. He's just taken a great big bite of the chorizo and a swig of sake.
Ah.
Oh, that's good with the. Oh, that's really. Oh.
Try it with the saucy. There's a few left.
The thing with sake, especially dry sake, is that you're meant to drink it with food. It's meant to be a complementary thing to enhance the flavors. So
That is like nothing I've ever drunk before. Yeah.
rice wine. I mean, that's the thing.
I mean, I can tell that it's around the wine sort of area in terms of alcohol I've had before, but it's like nothing I've had before.
Because it's slightly vinegary, so the idea is that it's meant to be almost like a sauce that you put on your food.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why it works. There are sweeter sakes, but in particular, this sake is like a dry sake, so you would have it with food.
Oh, that's lovely.
Soju, on the other hand, which is something else we have available.
On the table.
Yes. Now that one, funny enough, so my friend went to Korea for his exchange program, and the way he explained it was, often salarymen would go out, or a student even, they would go out on weekends, and the idea is that you would pay like a very low price, like think £5, right, just for a whole basket of chicken and like £1 alcohol, soju, and you would just do nothing but eat fried chicken and drink soju. Fair enough, it might seem quite crass, it might seem quite, common, but the thing is, it's a pastime that the Koreans generally enjoy, which is very funny because obviously fried chicken isn't something that's native to them. So it's really interesting how like the whole globalization sort of brought everyone together in that sort of way.
And James, while you're on the subject, topics which are not native, tell me, what does this delicious sake and chorizo combination tell us about the prevalence of cardiovascular disease in the UK?
For one thing, I believe that the UK has taken steps to promote a more healthier lifestyle. In particular, the sugar tariff. The idea that especially sugary drinks have now increased costs because of the taxation on them.
Indeed.
Whilst I think that I value free choice. People should be free to choose what they want to do. I think in terms of actually helping and benefiting the future of British society, the government taking a step into this could be potentially a right move. I think rather than trying to force a combination of two things that don't go together, we should then potentially have the government do more positive instead of restrictive actions. Rather than taxing sugar, maybe promote more healthier lifestyles. That would sort out one problem.
taxing sugar, I'm okay with the sugar tax personally because I don't really consume that much sugar, so
I
I'm
agree
fine
with
with it.
James. I agree with James.
I think, honestly, you shouldn't force people to.
We need to keep you out of power. That's what we need to do. Keep you away from any semblance of it.
I agree. Keep me from power.
Humans are very push and pull. If you force them to do something, they're going to resist more. So
By
if you
nature.
by
They
nature.
don't learn to do it themselves, which is the key.
Let's say this sugar tax thing is happening right now.
Uh-huh.
People will just be happy to pay the extra just to get the Coke anyway.
Yeah.
Really?
Do you love Coke?
Well.
A lot of people love
And
sauce.
Let's move on from sugar, Coke, shooting the fat, and jogging
Oh, I like that. Shooting the fat.
Shooting the fat.
Move on, but that was very good.
comedian. To a humble British sausage. Connor has brought us some Bramley apple sausages, again from his favourite shop, Marks and Spencer's. Have you seen the Fry Laurie sketch, Marks and Spencer's?
No, we watched it together.
When they're talking about, they've just opened a hospital aisle in mine. Mine actually sells weaponry.
Weaponry.
Oh, so funny. So funny.
Oh my.
Ridiculous.
In my local one, there's a really marvellous primary school.
A primary school?
Yes, both mine and my husband's children go there.
Well, of course, in my local one, they've just opened a hospital section. Oh, yes, you can go in and have minor operations, everything. Yes, well, at the one near me, you can actually buy weaponry. Yes, it is, quite right.
Mine too.
Yes, I bought an F-111 there last week. It's so fresh, I swear it was made that day.
Fry Laurie.
All right,
wonderful,
gentlemen.
watch it. Let us partake in this plump apple saucy. You go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You
Wow.
get 3 this
Okay,
time.
yeah,
He
look,
gets 3.
Take one off, please.
Anything you say, dear. Dig in.
Dig all the salt into the soil.
Mm.
Now this is very
Very
good.
Oh my.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Oh my.
I could have this with a nice tall cider or beer.
Ironic because there's apple in it.
I know it's very expensive, but I would very much enjoy getting these from Marks and Spencer again.
No,
Highly recommend.
I still think
Not
this
that
is
much,
so
I mean-
far the star of the show.
You get 12 sausages for a $5. You can make a stew out of that.
Yeah, actually, and it'll be really.
And that stew is that's 3 litres of stew.
Oh,
And that'll last you
that's
5 days. I mean, if you think about it, $5 for 5 days worth of food.
Yeah.
That's how I get by actually at ULaw because I'm never here to cook. I'm always studying, or going off to the theatre, or unconscious. So I never actually managed to get home and cook, and that's how I do it. I have my slow cooker that my nan Frida gave to me. Thanks, Frida. Yeah, hi Frida. Everybody say hi to Frida.
Hi, Frida.
She'll like that. I'll tell her to listen.
I should definitely do you something. You can boil beef and use the water and juices from that in gravy. You can slowly cook some onions, slowly cook some peppers and some mushrooms after that as well, and then you can throw the juices in and it creates your own form.
Hold on a minute, everyone. Some very important news. In the food wars between my house and next door neighbour, where these French Canadians are using French cat food to tempt my cat away from our home and our food. My mum's managed to get some gourmet food and he's chowing down on it, so that's good.
Ha ha ha! A win
Good
for
news.
Mrs. Saint Nick. So, Saint Nick, since you've decided to usurp the conversation, can you tell me what this Bramley apple sausage tells us about Emmanuel Macron's choice of First Minister?
Macarons are nice. No, oh, that's macaroons. I do like macaroons, though. They're very lovely. As like
Yes, the French don't like them anymore. No.
No, it's not like as it appropriated by the British by any chance.
It was quite interesting because the whole campaign he was going centrist. He even made his own party. Interestingly, like some of the Conservative and Labour MPs are doing now, because they're so dissatisfied with the state of things, they formed their own centrist party. Very interesting parallel. And first thing Emmanuel Macron did when he got his when he got his presidency, was to get the ex-mayor of Le Havre, or Le Havre if you're French, who's a notorious right-wing guy, to be his first minister.
So is that the first minister you're referring to?
Yes, that's the first minister.
So it's
to
not a
which I'm
recent
alluding.
choice?
No. This is
I'll
much like the other three things I've mentioned.
I'll say
this
this
is
about apple sausages and that. The good English parliamentary system of government is far superior, always will be, to the French presidential system.
And like Macron's wife, they're old and traditional.
Yes. And you could probably find her in Marks and Spencer's.
Not anymore, they're closing all of them in France.
No, really? Insane. I have to say though, so far the two Marks and Spencer sausages have just knocked it out of the park. I must say they do know what
They
they're doing.
are
Thank you,
absolutely
Very
stunning.
good.
My
So
only
we'll take-
complaint is that you did not buy enough. This one especially. Oh, the chorizo one is actually divided because it like speaks to me from my Asian heritage. Like we like a lot of spice, different flavors, and very complex flavors at that. Like this is the apple one. You know, it's exotic to me because you know obviously I don't have access to English cuisine in Asia. In fact, it is more expensive to buy fish and chips in Asia commonly than it is to buy a steak. So you will find fish and chips in a fancy hotel, and they will call it fish and chips English style.
I remember that when I was in Japan. Fish and chip places
Is it
and
just like
British pubs were far more expensive than
Yes,
you get here.
exactly.
I love
And yet
British
ramen over here
pubs.
is more expensive.
I went to the Hobgoblin in Tokyo, and it was the best. We ran out of money on like day 6 because Japan is so expensive.
Oh, it is.
Listen to those screaming sausages.
Listen to them suffer.
We ended up eating the 7-Eleven corn dogs, all 100 yen, amazing.
Oh yeah.
And
About how Japan's
Hobgoblin,
expensive.
Arashiyama, no, Arashiyama's in Kyoto. The Hobgoblin in Asakusa in Tokyo.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. We got a barbecue pizza. It cost us like 1,000 yen, which is a lot of money. It was like 6 or so. In fact, no, it was more than it was like. But it was so good.
So for the benefit of
Yeah.
you, Nick. So think of
The benefit of eunuchs.
well, well, yeah. I mean, but for you, Nick, in particular, 100 yen could be equated to a pound. So if you want to like think of it as economic worth, think of it as whenever he says 100 yen, that's 1 pound. So imagine getting corn dogs for 1 pound.
Wow, that's good.
That's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why it's very easy to go a little crazy in Japan sometimes.
A little crazy. I go insane in Japan. You have no idea. I love that place. It's so different to the UK. Like the culture
Vastly
there.
different. Have you noticed they don't tie up their bikes in the street? They just leave them there.
Because it's like there's like sort of like that honesty and stuff like that, and it's like crime is very much so frowned upon. In fact, you even getting a tattoo is frowned upon because then you associate yourself with the yakuza, in a way,
Yeah.
which is like very bad. And in fact, even littering is very much frowned upon.
Indeed.
The streets are super clean.
Super clean.
People don't even really actually. You will see like people eat in the streets in the UK or wherever, you know, just pretty standard because fine, it's
We're busy
convenient.
people.
Yeah, but in Japan, it's actually not done as often. In fact, even the 7-Elevens, the convenience stores, they have actual seating areas for you to
Indeed.
eat the things you buy. So it's actually like eating in the street is actually not as I guess encouraged as it is in most places because they're very much so about keeping the placing. And I will say Japan is very clean, like Tokyo,
Indeed.
so clean.
So many people yet so clean.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
I mean, the smog doesn't help, but
I mean,
generally,
yeah.
apart
Small
from the
steps.
environment, yeah,
Small
baby
steps.
steps, yeah. I mean, once they all, I mean, in like 20, 30 years when all the cars are electric, it won't be a problem.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can't wait for that.
So, final sausage.
Oh, so the Chinese ones are like out of the question now.
I mean, we could try them, but I don't want to poison you.
That's true.
You only
Yeah.
have one, so I'll try them.
And the cured meat.
You wouldn't take responsibility
I've got
for
a
a grown man.
strong.
You know, I've got a table full of future lawyers.
I would ask them that you at
definitely
least
kill
keep
us.
them and then eat them for later and whenever because I don't like wasting food. So
Yeah, I will
please-
steam the
please-
rest of them.
Yeah, please. They're my gift to you. After all, you've been honestly a great help to me these past few weeks.
It's been a tough. We've all had a tough time.
Yeah, but you've been really spoiled. I mean, we've all really been spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
But like Cedric, like special mention to Cedric. In fact, I would like to just say,
Shout out.
He's a jolly good fellow.
love, for he is a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow.
Which nobody
Like
can
to
deny.
drink with Cedric.
Oh, right.
I've got like,
Like
two,
to
I've
drink
got like
with
2 sips of.
First year.
Well,
of
thank you.
university.
No, but honestly, just whatever I can do to make this LPC less painful.
Indeed.
It is a humongously, vacuously painful experience.
It does hurt.
It does hurt. It's a lot of work, and at the end, you just get an LPC. At university, you work, and you get a grade. At the end, you get some indication of how well you've done. At the end of the LPC, if you pass all of them the first time, you get a distinction, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no incentive to actually do anything. So let's move on to delicious Lithuanian cheese-filled sausages. Dig in, everyone.
Ah, yes, the classics.
The classic, because we love this. We love this, and Connor's breathing very heavily.
Oh yeah, it's
Colin,
still
do you
good.
love this?
No.
You've never had it? Oh my goodness, it's filled
Were
with
you
cheese.
here?
It
Try
was
that.
no, this wasn't a fruit. This is still good.
Oh man, wow.
With pasta, this is brilliant. I've had it.
You're right, you're so right.
Was that from that Lituanica shop? That beats hot dogs you can get on the street.
Like honestly, it's like the fact that the cheese just adds another layer to
The
it.
cheese is inside the sausage. You don't add cheese to it. The cheese is in the thing.
Yeah. Oh.
But you know what? In exam period, because when in the run up to exams, you've got like a certain quota of seminars to do in a day. So you end up most of the time just staying in and doing the seminars.
Yeah.
A lot of the time that I spent in, I just didn't have any food in the fridge apart from these sausages, which I just fried up with a little bit of. I cooked some rice, sausages, a little bit of chili pecorino. Put it in a gorgeous meal. Done.
Right.
Finished.
So let me put a question to you, Cedric,
Oh,
since
God.
you've put questions to all of us.
But,
So,
okay, I'll let you have the final one. Go on.
given the multiple layers of flavor in this Lithuanian sausage with the cheese and what does that tell you about the importance of being nuanced as an individual, to have multiple interests and multiple personality traits to make yourself distinguish from the rest of the crowd that you surround yourself with?
I really think schizophrenia is very advantageous. Honestly, you can't tell anybody how to be.
Yes.
That's a given. I'm going to turn this into the only acceptable way of telling people what to do by saying the successes that I've had. So I'm a nudonst. I do a lot. I'm a nudist. The idea is, so if you use your time wisely, whatever you do will be beneficial. I think achievement is so subjective that you can't really compare yourself to other people and say, oh, I want to be like him, because, capacity is completely different, circumstances are different, upbringing are different, values are different. Anthony Robbins wrote a wonderful book called Unlimited Power, in which he said that if you want to be successful, you need to emulate the traits of the people that you find successful, and not make the mistakes that they did. You need to ask them what they did wrong so that you don't do that. So you supersede period of learning and you learn from their mistakes. So that's very helpful, and that influenced me a lot as a kid, because I read that when I was like 15. I opened my mind. I'd be like, I am going to look at the people that I find successful. I'm going to do right what they did right. And that's, in a large part, got me where I am today. Essentially, cheating. So you don't have to make the same mistakes that the people you aspire to have made. You need to ask them what mistakes they've made, or read about which mistakes they've made, and then don't make those, and just do the right things. It is important to be nuanced. It's important not to be monotone. It's important to have a lot of interests, because there's a lot of interesting things that happen in this world. Even I don't think I'm interested in enough things. I look up to Saint Nick because his interest in classical music is vastly superior to mine, and his knowledge is vastly superior to mine. And
I agree.
I admire him infinitely for that. You know, your understanding of the Japanese culture, James, is vastly superior to mine. Even though I've been to Japan and studied Japanese law, you know, I've read Matsui and Herbert Bix, etc. I know, you know, an all right amount, but I don't know as much as you, and that's important. And Connor, your knowledge of African cuisine and just your general manner are hugely admirable. So I suppose by this long speech, what I mean to say is you should surround yourself with the people whose qualities you hope to espouse and whose traits you admire. That
Absolutely.
is a great
yes,
boon.
absolutely.
That is a great boon to you and Louise, who I will mention. Louise is everything. You know, she's marvelous. Everything that she is inspires me, and everything that you all are inspires me. So the idea is you need to surround yourself with a positive network of people who bring you up, whose traits support your growth, and you help them to grow as well.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Bring new experiences, broaden your horizons, because after all, variety is in fact the spice of life.
It is.
And let's drink to that, my gentlemen.
Indeed.
hold on a
Cheers,
minute,
cheers,
hold on a
cheers.
minute.
Wait, Saint
Hold
Nick.
on a minute.
Saint Nick has withdrawn his cheer. I'm going to drink anyway. Go on.
He said a lot of things nice about us then. I think it's
Oh,
about time we
oh.
say something about Cedric.
Oh, God.
He does tend to say enough about himself,
I
but
do.
Yes.
I am very grateful for Cedric this year because he's introduced me to a lot of new things, the Doors,
Yes.
music that I'm not into that, and I'm a very uptight person, and he's made me a lot less uptight.
Yes, I agree.
And for that, I'm immensely grateful, and he's given me some new life.
Yeah, genuinely.
Loosened me up, and I'm pleased about that because I'm an uptight person.
Yeah, let's drink to that. Let's drink to that. To Cedric.
To life, to Cedric.
To loosening Saint Nick.
To loosen the same thing.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that too, isn't it?
Thank you, Saint Nick. You're too kind. Let's reflect on this momentous podcast, guys. What was your favourite saucy?
It has to be this.
So James is elected for the chorizo.
The chorizo is definitely the first for me, with the apple one's a close second.
Connor has chosen the food that he's brought.
It's a bit boring, but I'm going to have to go for the pork and apple that Connor brought. I'm going to have to pick that,
Do you know what? Yeah, I agree with...
M&S wins.
M&S wins.
Yeah.
M&S. Consistent. Please sponsor this podcast.
This has been a great advert for M&S.
There's 4 great customer testimonies. Like, what more could they ask for?
Thank you everyone for listening to this momentous saucy poddy. I didn't think that it would be quite as deep as that, but then again, saucies always surprise me with their depth and the nuance of their flavour.
I mean, alcohol does help.
We're getting to a point now, aren't we? So, thank you everybody for listening. I hope this hasn't been too jarring.
Now get out.
Now get out of my house. Bye everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for
Bye.
listening.
It takes a lot to get George best away from football, but one thing always works: his mum's cooking, especially when it's Cookstown sausages. Dependably fresh, dependably delicious. George loves their pure meaty goodness. So do all the family, cause Cookstown sausages make a real big meal.
What the man means is Cookstown are the best family sausages.
Buy Cookstown sausages.